All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us for this Nucamp open house. My name is Karim Nagar. I am Nucamp's CEO, and together with me today is Ludo Fourage.
Hello, everyone.
Ludo is our Chief Learning Officer. We're excited to spend the next hour with you. We are going to spend about half of that time presenting to you Nucamp, trying to explain a little bit what we do. And Ludo will jump in the second half of this section to talk about the curriculum in more details, and then we'll leave some time for you to ask us any questions you have. We want this to be interactive. You can actually start to post your questions on the live chat, and then we'll just go through them in the order we receive them. So with that, let's get started. I want to first just present Nucamp and explain a little bit our mission and what we do. So we're really the most affordable, local, and flexible boot camp in the US with our very specific evenings and weekends format. And our social mission is really to help all aspiring career shifters to enter the digital economy, whether that's in big cities, smaller towns across the US. And we do that by offering quality education to those that can't afford it today. Again, we do this across the nation, and we're really excited to have a chance to present this in more details to you today. So it all started with actually Ludo looking at the landscape of coding boot camps and just online learning opportunities to learn to code, and just realizing that the options were limited. One option was to really go online and subscribe or even use a free service to learn to code, which is very flexible. It's easily accessible anywhere. You can do this from the comfort of your home. It's low cost, obviously, and sometimes even free, but it's really, really hard to complete the curriculum. It's hard to stay motivated. It's also hard to overcome obstacles and some of the challenges that come with learning to code if you don't have any support. So a lot of people then try to find alternatives, and really the only existing alternative up to recently was traditional boot camps, which are a great format. It's a full-time format. You're actually immersed in the boot camp for 4, 5, 6 months, and then you learn to code with a really strong support structure. But unfortunately, it's very expensive. It forces you to quit your job and move to this full-time program. And then it's available only in big cities. So with all of that, it's really possible for a very limited number of people to do it. If you can afford it, if you're in the right spot, it's great, go ahead and do it. But again, it's not a good option for a lot of people out there. And that's where really Nucamp comes in. Nucamp is a hybrid format. It is a format that's basically flexible, learning on your pace during the week online, and then moving to in-person during the weekend. That allows you to continue to work during the week, keep your full-time job, keep your revenue stream. It also allows you and allows us to serve you across the country in smaller towns where there's no boot camp available. And then the most important piece, it's much, much more affordable. Our price for a full stack boot camp in early bird pricing is $1,620. So that's like 15% of the average cost of a traditional boot camp. Where do we come from? Who are we? Because oftentimes we get this question, are you guys legit? I mean, how can you actually offer this for such an affordable price? So a little bit about ourselves. We were founded in Washington State in 2017. And since then, we've launched over 70 boot camps. We've delivered 250 plus Saturday workshops, which are the in-person component of the boot camp. We've had actually 700 students go through the program. Some are actually still in the program, again, across now over 25 cities. And we have over 100 instructors that are from the industry, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, that are passionate about coding and delivering in those different cities. Most important is the student satisfaction, the recognition we get from students, which you can go check out on independent sites like a Course Report. Course Report, our average rating is 4.91, which is actually ahead of all the other big name boot camps. And you can also, check out Switch Up as well. So a little more about the offering itself. So we have an introductory or an intro boot camp, yes, that's called our Web Development Fundamentals. It's a 4-week boot camp, and it's really for people to test things out, to get a feel for what coding is about, understand if this is something they'd like to do, they enjoy, and they project themselves to be doing as a career. So you can't really get a job after that, but it's a really good entry point for people who have absolutely no coding background. There's really no sort of required skills to get into that entry-level boot camp. And then our advanced boot camps are really the ones that prepare you for junior web development positions in the industry. And Ludo will tell you a little bit more about the details, but we have a front end and mobile development boot camp, which is 17 weeks. And a full stack web and mobile development bootcamp, which is 22 weeks, which covers really the complete set of classes we offer. The format, again, for those bootcamps is the same. It is working Sunday to Friday online at your pace. So you're viewing videos, you're going through some of the exercises. You're also working on building your portfolio. Ludo will tell you more about that. But you're also getting the support from your instructors. So you're not entirely on your own. You actually, if you're stuck, if you have a question, you can use our platform, our collaboration platform, to basically seek help from your instructor, but also interact with other students that are engaged and will also help each other. And then, of course, you prepare for Saturday. Saturday is the big day. It's when you have the in-person workshop, where you actually meet physically with your instructor and with the other students. It's a 4-hour session, and that's really where it's a capstone of the week, if you like. That's where you basically wrap up the learnings of that week into a project and an assignment that will then get graded by the instructor. And that opens up the following week, and that way you progress week after week. So it's a very structured program. It's actually a pretty demanding program. So be prepared to work hard, because we are packing the content of a traditional bootcamp into a part-time program. That means you need to be prepared to work 1 to 3 hours per day, based on just your pace and how comfortable you are with coding. All right, so let's talk a little bit about where those workshops take place on Saturday, because that's an important piece of the model. We partner with co-working spaces that host us on Saturday mornings. And we try to do that with co-working spaces that align with our social mission to make coding more affordable. So oftentimes, they're plugged in the local software development community. They may be hosting meetups, software development meetups, things like that. So they're usually really nice places. They're cool places to just be in on a Saturday morning, as you're making the commitment to get out of your house early and go work. We want this to be a pleasant experience. But they're also really valuable because they help you network and connect in your hometown with other people that are involved in software development. And that's really key, especially as you gradually prepare to apply for junior level positions. You want to be plugged in with the local software development community. And then finally, the most important ingredient of Nucamp is our instructors. We have awesome instructors. They all come from the industry. They are not teachers. They're active industry practitioners. So they use software development every day in a professional setting, which means that the way they will teach you to code is very practical, very hands-on, and really very applicable to finding a job, as opposed to a more academic approach that you'd find in university, for example. They're very diverse, but definitely what brings them together is they're passionate and excited to give back in their community. They're all compensated, but they're not highly compensated. They really do this because they want to share their passion for coding with others. Many of them have gone through a coding bootcamp and have sort of gone through the journey, and it's a tough journey for some. So they're excited to help others go through the same process and enjoy a different career. They're local. That's the important piece too, right? So very diverse, but they're plugged into your local community. And that, again, is really key, especially as you start to network and prepare for interviews. And again, as I mentioned, very, very diverse backgrounds. So you will find some of our instructors are actually working full-time in large companies, in software development companies. Others will actually be independent consultants. They're developing websites, for clients. You'll have people that are really focused more on design and developing for front end with customers, other that are a lot more on the back end on larger systems. So that's also a richness that you get exposed to, because as you go through the curriculum and you go through 4 or 5 different classes as part of the full stack program, you'll get different instructors, and so a different experience and a different opportunity to just learn more about the industry. All right, well, with this, I'm going to turn it over to Ludo to give you a little bit more details about the curriculum itself.
Thank you. And by the way, keep asking your questions in the chat window. We'll actually answer them right after that section, so in about 15 minutes now. So the curriculum that you saw earlier in the previous slide that has the 3 pillars, really when you get into the specifics, you will see that it's based out of 5 different modules. And all those modules are really focusing on JavaScript as the primary language and the set of what we call frameworks that are supplementing JavaScript. So the first module is also the first bootcamp. That's the 4 weeks one. And it's really meant to give you the fundamentals of HTML5, JavaScript, CSS3, and JavaScript. In this 4 weeks bootcamp, you should know that 2 weeks are really focused on JavaScript alone. So if you feel like you know the fundamentals already, but you're not sure that you have the JavaScript knowledge, chances are you will want to start with that module before moving on to the rest. And then we go into either the front end or the full stack bootcamp that are starting pretty much in the same way. So the first module of your front end or full stack bootcamp is going to be Bootstrap. And Bootstrap is what we call a library that was developed actually by Twitter that was meant to do one thing very well. And that one thing is to build responsive websites. Now, what does it mean? What is a responsive website? A responsive website is a website that you will develop just once. So you'll have just one version of your code, but then you will see that website you will actually open that website on, let's say, a TV or a laptop or a mobile phone, and it will adapt to the screen size. So it will be very much expanded with the top menu, let's say, if you're seeing it on a laptop, and then it will shrink and kind of show now in stacks, allowing you to scroll down on a small phone. And the menu, for example, will also change so that it's more adapted to a small phone. And so that will be really Bootstrap, allowing you to build with one set of code, responsive website that just adjust the look and feel to the device and the size of the screen. Students typically love Bootstrap because it's a very exciting way to get into web development. It's kind of simple in a way to get a hold of it. It's based on CSS, and so you immediately understand what it does exactly. So it's a great introduction to development. Now, what you realize as well is it has shortfalls. What Bootstrap doesn't do, for example, is Bootstrap will not help you build what we call business logic. It will not help you fetch data from a data source or fetch an API and receive information about the weather or receive information about your products or the cost of your products. It will really only focus on the UI. And so what you need next is a framework that's much more complex in a way, and it's called React. React was developed, I think now 4 years ago by Facebook. Is using Bootstrap. So what you've learned with Bootstrap really is not lost. It's actually using Bootstrap for the UI elements aspect of it, but it brings all the richness that you need to suddenly be able to manipulate data or manipulate user profiles, fetch product information, show that dynamically on the web page, and then, for example, allow your users to add them to a cart. Or maybe if you're thinking about building, the new Twitter, how do you actually dynamically send messages across everybody's devices, store these messages on a database? All of that really is React. It's a very important element of the bootcamp. It's kind of the cornerstone, I will say, module of the bootcamp. It's 6 weeks long. It's challenging, but once you've gone through it, what students are saying is that the next bootcamp, React Native, feels actually simple again. So imagine, it's going to be a roller coaster in a way in terms of emotions. It's going to be easy, simple with Bootstrap. Then it's going to be challenging and rewarding with React, very challenging. And then it's going to be easy again with React Native. Now, let me say something about React Native. It's, I think, where the magic happens. Meaning all the work that you've done before has been really focused on websites. A website that you're going to see on a TV, on a laptop, on a mobile phone, but it's pretty much HTTP, whack, whack, and it's a website. You're going to use that same code, and suddenly you're going to package it and create out of a website a full-blown mobile application that you're going to be able to push to the Apple Store, to the Google Play Store. And it's going to look and feel like a real application. Meaning with React Native, suddenly you're going to have access to the GPS function of your mobile device. You're going to have access to the camera. You're going to have access to the location GPS. You're going to have access to the gyrometer. I mean, you're going to be able to do everything that you can do on a mobile device. Notifications as well, for example. And that's very also rewarding in terms of experience. Now, that will end the front-end bootcamp, meaning everything you needed to know about building experiences, user experiences, for any type of device, and including mobile apps, you would have learned at this point in time. If you are signing up to full stack, you will have done everything from front-end as well. And then you're going to move on to the next module, the last one, which is really the server-side aspect of it. So what do we mean by server-side? Well, this is where your data is going to live. This is where users are going to be able to authenticate with your application. This is where you're going to be able to actually build the website itself, not just the experience of it, but the processes behind it. And so that's a critical component if you want to be able to build everything from A to Z. And as you can tell, obviously, full stack really includes front end. So what we also allow you to do is at the end of front end, if you're like, boy, I wish I could learn even more and I could actually switch to full stack, you'll also have that option to add at the end this last module as an option. So that's very much our curriculum right now. Some people are asking about, okay, what about other languages? We are not in a position yet to push out new curriculums, but just so you know, we are also thinking about that in the future. So you may want to check out what we do and stay in touch if you're also interested in other curriculums. So what's very important, and you'll hear that from hiring managers or other graduates, is that along the journey of learning, you also build something that is yours. And so we're going to help you with that. You're going to build 2 or 3 portfolio projects throughout the course of the bootcamp. One is what we call the learning project. So what we're very proud of is everything you've seen on the previous slide, the 22 weeks long of our curriculum. Every week, you're going to build and improve in increments the learning project. And so at the end of the bootcamp, either front end or full stack, you will have really continuously improved and learned on that one project. I say that because it's very different from what you may have experienced in the past, which is, working on a tutorial there, working on another tutorial there. And then at the end of it, you may have, a collection of tutorials, but that don't add up to anything meaningful. Our curriculum across 17 weeks to 22 weeks add up to something really meaningful that covers the whole spectrum of what you've learned. And so we're very proud of that. At the same time, along the learning portfolio project, you're going to build your own portfolio project. That's going to follow the same path. And so you're going to start with Bootstrap. And over the first 5 weeks, you're going to increment in adding depth to your portfolio project, like you do for your learning project. You're going to be able to do that on your own, but we recommend and will help you actually come together as a group as well. You want to be able to experience team learning and team development. Then once you move to React, you're going to pretty much take your code and refactor your code to now add all the dynamic elements of React that I mentioned earlier. When you go to React Native, then some students decide to just keep going with React or actually switch again to React Native. So that's an option for you. And then if you're in the full stack bootcamp, you're going to finally want to add the server-side element of your portfolio project. So very rewarding, meaningful portfolio project. It's 2 to 3 portfolio projects, but you can also think of it as it's 22 micro projects that you work on every week that adds up to your meaningful portfolio project. Okay, the bootcamp schedule. So you're in luck. You still have more than 2 weeks to register for the November 11th start for either full stack or front end. On October 28th, we will actually move to the full tuition price, which is 15% more than the current price. So don't wait, don't miss the early bird deadline, and you have actually a few days to register for November 11th or November 18th if you really want to start with the web development fundamentals. But really, if you're thinking about front-end full stack, you have actually a good amount of time to register with the early bird price, which is $1,620 for full stack and $1,260 for front end. So don't miss the deadline. Now, if you do miss the deadline, or you're not really ready to sign up for the front end and full stack, we actually run those every 1 or 2 months, depending on how they fall in the calendar. And so you can see already that if you miss the November session, you can register for the January 27th session. And then if you actually want to start with web development, you're going to have 2 options to do that: November 18th, December 30th. Both of those will actually end before the next front end and full stack in January. So again, plenty of options. Go to the website, go to your community, and see which one will work for you. One thing, don't miss the early bird deadline. All right, and of course, we've been talking a lot about how great we think Nucamp is. That's kind of obvious, but you probably want to hear it from a student. So what we're going to do now, and then get back to the Q&A, we actually have a small announcement. We almost forgot, but we actually something pretty exciting to share with you.
Just after the video, yeah.
Just after the video, but let's roll the video. It's 1 minute 30, and then we'll do the announcement, and then we'll get straight to the Q&A. Thank you for asking all those questions. Continue to do that. We'll answer the questions one by one. And roll the video.
Je vais faire l'annoncement, tu mets l'autre. Okay. All right.
Hold on.
So
That
we had a
was
little glitch here,
that
not
was
the right video. You didn't need more advertising from Nucamp.
that
So
wasn't the right video. All right. So what do we do? Like,
so I'll go and talk a little bit about what's new while
yeah,
you
do the
set up our
announcement,
video.
and I'll
Sure.
bring back the end. Okay, perfect.
So we're announcing a new format now for a Nucamp, which is a format with remote workshops, and that really comes from student feedback, in particular in some cities and towns where we didn't have enough demand yet, and so what happened was if there weren't enough students, then we would roll over the class to the next session, and that has happened now twice at least, sometimes 3 times in some places. Again, just because we're not yet at the point where there are enough students there. And obviously it's a frustrating experience for students that want to get started, that are excited about learning the code. But you do have to understand that on our end, with less than 5 or 6 students, it's just not viable to run a full program. So we thought hard about this, and we experimented in August and September a new format. It's been very successful, and now we're rolling it out across the board. And essentially what we're doing is delivering the Saturday workshop experience as a video conference experience. So it's very similar to the traditional format we have with in presence on Saturday. It's the same content, it's the same structure of class, so small classes of 12 students maximum. The students are actually grouped by city, so you will be in the same class as other students from your city, but perhaps you'll have another city grouped with you as well to create a bit more volume. But again, never more than 12 students, and you will have a dedicated instructor, so no change there. Your instructor will be supporting you online during the week, same as any other boot camp. And then on Saturdays, you will be interacting with your instructor and the other students via video conference. Of course, as students, you can connect live outside of that workshop during the week if you want to work together on your project. So we're trying to make sure we keep this sort of community focus. And then what we are doing is that as students register, if we get more than 5 or 6 students in as a city or a town, then we switch to in presence. We're really good at staffing instructors, and in many cases, we already have instructors that are ready to teach. So it's really easy for us to switch to in presence if we have enough students registered. As a student, though, you're not forced to. So if you're scheduled for that remote workshop experience in your community and you want to stick with that, even though we're offering it in presence, you can decide to stay as a video conference bootcamp as well. I mean, there are obviously advantages to that. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You don't have to commute. So, some people prefer that. Others actually prefer in presence. But anyway, we're trying to make it work for everyone, and we're definitely trying to make sure we actually start this next wave of boot camps. So for our November starts, I already see some questions there about, hey, is it going to start or not? Or, what's the minimum number of students? Well, with this new approach, we can commit that we are going to start the bootcamp as a remote workshop, as a video conference workshop, no matter what. And then hopefully in as many cases as possible, we'll be able to deliver that in presence as well.
Yeah, it's really important. This is not a full replacement of our approach. It's really, so we keep that approach of in presence in as many cities as we can. And we have almost 22 cities now that are always delivering in presence. This is really in certain cities where we don't see enough students just yet. So don't think that's a full replacement of what we've been delivering so far. I have the video ready.
All right, let's give it a shot.
And then we'll go back to your your question,
Q&A.
to the Q&A. All right. Hold on. Jeez, it is ready. Hold on. There it is.
I wanted to look at a career opportunity that would be lucrative. And Nucamp kind of popped up, and I liked it a lot more than the other ones. I liked that it was more flexible. I didn't have to quit my current job.
They're basically very student-friendly.
And our instructor is awesome, Minay, and she's just really helpful, really above and beyond.
She's very helpful, and every time when I have a question, I can ask her and she can respond. The careers basically has no end. You can grow and grow.
I was really excited. Yeah, in fact, I mean, if anything, I was wanting to do more.
But I really like the way it's been this hybrid learning process.
I love that. I love that it's during the week, because I wouldn't have been able to do it if I had to meet every single day. So I love that I can find childcare on Saturdays, and the rest of the week it's online. But yeah, sometimes I'm doing my homework and I get all excited. I'm like, this could be my life. So it's kind of cool.
All right. All right, finally, that was the right video.
Perfect. Thanks, Ludo. So yeah, let's get started with your questions here. I can jump on the first one. I think you can take the one after that. So question from Dana around, how many students do you have that already gone through other coding boot camps? It's a great question. We actually have a lot of students that come that have already tried to learn online. And, so they have a little bit of experience, but they just found it very difficult to complete the program that way. So we definitely encourage you, even if you register with Nucamp, spend some time, on some of the free resources that are out there to just, get a head start and start to familiarize yourself. What we deliver is not just the content, which is freely available, but it's how to help you go through it in a structured way.
Yeah, and I would say I've heard as well students saying that they went to other traditional coding bootcamps and realized that the full-time aspect was not working for them and decided to actually quit and join our bootcamp. So we've had that experience as well.
Do you want to talk a little bit about our learning environment and a collaboration environment?
Yeah. So Dana, your question about do you have a Slack channel? We actually do. And let me build on that. So we have a Slack channel that brings together students in a given community, as well as all the students that are doing a particular module across the US. So you actually have several levels, I would say, of collaboration and support. And then we have a learning environment. That's really our learning management system where you will find your lessons. And this is where also you really engage with your classmates, for example, and your instructor. So we're pretty happy with where we are right now in terms of collaborative learning because of those different levels of support and engagement at the local level, but also nationwide with all the other students and also actually all the other instructors.
All right, question around SVG animation.
Yeah, so the short answer is we don't really teach SVG animation. We mention it in passing in the very first the Web Development Fundamentals Bootcamp, but that's very much it. So no, we're not spending too much time on that at this time.
Yeah, I just want to jump on that and maybe just point out the fact that the reason we're focused on the curriculum that we have right now and we're doing only that is because this is what's best aligned today with the job market. So let's not forget here, the goal is for you to transition careers to enter into basically the software development world. And the curriculum we have is the easiest way to do that, the most practical way to do that. It is where basically it's accessible in terms of technical level, because I mean, it's really hard with no background knowledge to jump into data science or, really, advanced AI. But jumping into web development is definitely doable. And it is also one of the biggest sort of demands out there in the market. So there's a clear sort of opportunity from a job perspective there. So that's why we're so focused right now on this particular curriculum.
You want to take Sam Amos' question because that's
Sure. So are there a minimum number of students that must register for a cohort to actually happen? So in our model so far, the answer was yes. A minimum number of students was 6. And sometimes, if the cost worked, we could get it down to 5 or even 4, but there was a minimum number to start. If that didn't happen, we rolled over the students to the next cohort, and of course, with the option of canceling their registration. But not a very satisfying experience for students that register and are expecting to start. So that's why we changed the model, and we want to be upfront now. When you register, you'll see if that particular bootcamp is going to be in person, because there's already enough students. So it'll be very explicit. Or if it is going to be delivered as a remote workshop. There will be a little badge there that tells you it's a remote workshop, so you know what you're signing up for. And that way, we are sure to confirm the start of the workshop. And of course, our goal is eventually to deliver all our boot camps in person if we can. And so when we can transition to in person, because we have enough students, we will do so every time we can.
And so, and what I will say is, Sam, if you register today, actually we're going to roll it out this weekend, but if you register, you are guaranteed to start. So all those issues of minimum number of students really goes away. So you can register, you'll be guaranteed to start.
All right.
So that's, B. Moses' question about Atlanta and Sandy Springs. So wait for this weekend, we're going to roll it out. And again, if you decide to register, you'll be guaranteed to start on November 11th.
Okay, so Dana's question after that, again, anything with working with CRMs, again, sort of similar answer. We're very focused in our curriculum on web development, because again, that's what gets you job ready, which takes us to the next question from Charlie, which can you answer that one on talk a little bit about the kind of jobs?
Absolutely. So we typically tell students that they should apply to junior web development positions. The first word junior is important because you will have just gone through a coding bootcamp. You're not senior yet. And so obviously you're seeking a junior position. If you've done full stack, you could seek either a front-end position or a full stack position. If you've done front-end, you will seek just front-end web development. Now, sometimes front-end is mentioned, sometimes it's not, or full stack is mentioned, sometimes it's not. So really looking for any position that says web development or junior web development will work out. What we tell students as well, and that's also how we want to differentiate ourselves with other players in the industry, is you should have the right expectations when you make a job search. That, for example, you should not try to get into Microsoft or Google or Facebook or Amazon. It's not realistic, given the level of competition to get into those companies, for you to seek a position there. What we tell students is there's a lot of opportunities outside of those big tech companies, small, medium business, traditional companies. Let's take Nordstrom or any traditional company in your region who are transforming into becoming digital and will hire junior web development. Startups, obviously, who are going to make a bet on you. Freelancing, we have a ton of students who actually go through our curriculum because they want to freelance at the end and build websites and do design work. So you want to be realistic in terms of expectations. Don't be discouraged trying to get into those big tech companies and realizing that they actually have very high expectations that you're not ready to meet just yet. Now, it doesn't mean that several years, like 2-3 years down the line, you should not try to apply. Actually, quite the opposite. Once you'll have built experience, once you'll have beefed up your resume with 3 years in a company, definitely that will be the moment for you to try it if you are interested in, but not right out the gate after finishing your bootcamp. That would not be realistic.
All right. So a question around is the web development fundamentals enough to, get a first job? And so I'll let you handle that one, but I mean, short answer is probably not.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it's probably not. It's if you really want to get a job into graphic design, I think the front end bootcamp is for you. I would say potentially a specific UX track, maybe actually even better. But yeah, the short answer is no. The first 4 weeks will not get you ready for a job in graphic design.
So will we be actively using Git and GitHub? You want to take that one?
Yeah, actually, we start to teach GitHub the very first week of Bootstrap. So if you're enrolling in either front end or full stack, very first week you'll be introduced to Git and GitHub. I'll take the in the advanced course. So Gary is asking about DB integration. Absolutely. So we do that, I will say both, throughout front end. So the first 3 modules, we simulate a database because we haven't done the server side yet. So we simulate a database and we simulate the integration of a database in the first 3 modules. Then when you get to the last module, the server side, backend component of full stack, we teach you how to use MongoDB, which is a leader in the database space. And we actually then do a true integration of the database into your application. Yeah, so GitHub, we've Kalonika, we've talked about GitHub, and obviously, as you do your project portfolio in a team, you'll learn how to use GitHub in a team context.
Preferred laptop. So there are specs out there in our Q&A. You can check them out. But basically, any sort of recent laptop is fine. Any MacBook is fine. If you're going to buy a new laptop, we encourage you to buy a machine that's around $500, and you'll be on the safe side. You'll have more than enough power, in particular, to go through the last part of the full stack bootcamp and go through the service side part, which is what really it requires most performance on the computer. But again, you'll find more detailed specs because you can definitely use an older machine if needed. Just stay away from Chromebooks because they're usually not powerful enough for development.
Donald is asking about Visual Studio Code. Are we limited to using a lightweight IDE or full version IDE? So for the very first bootcamp, the 4 weeks bootcamp, we do ask students to stick with Visual Studio Code. For the front end or full stack, we give you the options. We strongly prefer that you stay with Visual Studio Code because you will get support from your instructor and other students. If you decide to use a different IDE, why not? We won't be able to support it. So you'll have to be very comfortable with it already. But yeah, that's an option. And definitely, if you want to experiment with other IDEs, you could do that in the context of your project portfolio as well.
Want to take the next one as well?
Yes. So after learning Java, do other languages become easier to pick up? So just one precision here. Some people confuse Java and JavaScript. They're similar but different. JavaScript is really the language of the web. Java nowadays is mostly the language of embarked systems, not so much the web anymore, or server side. But to answer your question now, do other languages become easier to pick up? I will say yes, because as you learn JavaScript, we also teach you the fundamentals of algorithms and programming. So think about data structure, think about loops, think about conditions, things that are really common across languages. So yes, it will be easier to pick up, which is different from easy. Easier is right.
So a question on a video conference being available if you're unable to attend the Saturday workshop in person. Yes, that's actually possible. It's not common, but if you're really stuck on a Saturday, you can't make it, but you can actually attend it from a distance. We can arrange for that because we always have some online workshops happening, so you can probably jump in on one of them. I also want to mention that you can decide to go through the whole boot camp in a pure online or video or remote workshop mode, and decide not to do it in person at all if that's your decision. You can actually use a time zone based boot camp. So you just search for online as the city when you go to the to our website, and you'll see Eastern, we have Central, and we have Pacific. You can just register there and you'll be grouped with other students in the same time zone. So you don't necessarily get the connection with your local community, and you don't get the option to switch to in-presence, but for some student, this is what works best. So the next one, yes, is this going to be recorded so you can go back to it or share it with friends and family? Absolutely. So you will have the link to this video.
Same link.
Same link, actually.
Same link. Actually,
yeah.
Go to the same link, and that what we're doing live here will be available recorded.
Yeah, and then are there any hardware elements taught in the full stack course?
So not really. I would say the closest we get to hardware elements is when you get to React Native, and we actually look at a phone's hardware and how to access that hardware. So I mentioned, GPS, accelerometer, and all of that, camera, but we don't teach hardware per se.
Okay, so do you have the support of your instructor during the week? Yes, absolutely. That's really part of the program, right? So, and the support is online. So, essentially, you'll be able to send a message to your instructor, ping him on Slack, ping him through our Learn platform, say, hey, I'm stuck here. What am I doing wrong? And the commitment is that they get back to you, within a certain time, because they're all working full time. And that's part of the value they bring to you, being plugged into the industry. So don't expect them to respond back within just seconds, but they'll probably get back to you at the end of the day or the next morning. They organize themselves to be able to support you during the week. A lot of them are actually really responsive, but it's based a little bit on what they do as a full-time job. Again, don't forget that the reason they are with us is because they're passionate to share, what coding is about. So you'll find them to be very supportive.
Yeah, after the bootcamp, so Jerry is asking, after the bootcamp, will the online resources still be available for reference? Yes, so we've made the decision that you have lifetime access at this time to not only the learning management environment where you find your learning activities, videos, and exercises, but also the community at large. So you are still in the Slack channel. I know that differentiates us from other bootcamps who are shutting down access to everything once you're done. We still have alumni getting into the Slack channels, asking questions that are related to their job, and also helping new students. So we're pretty proud of that as well.
So certificates at the end of the courses, yes, we have certificates at the end of the front-end bootcamp and the full stack bootcamp. We have a lighter certificate for the web development, introduction bootcamp, but really the two advanced bootcamps have their own certificates, and there's actually two levels. Simply graduating if you've met sort of you've done all the assignments with a minimum grade of 6 out of 10. So it's a reasonable bar, but it ensures that you've gone really through the whole program. And then we got an honors level, which involves you showcasing your project. So you've got to wrap up your project, you've got to present it on a short video, and that will give you sort of an honors badge on top of that. And of course, we're happy also to showcase your project on our in our website, make it visible so you can point to it as well. Okay, so job placements. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. That's a good topic. And related to that, do your students find full-time jobs? So yes, absolutely. That's the goal of the program. We definitely have a lot of good examples. I encourage you to actually check out one of our videos on our YouTube channel or on our website. It's the story of Aaron, who is actually one of our early days students that was a long haul commercial driver and actually transitioned into this industry and now is working full time as a QA engineer in Tacoma in Washington State. We actually just lost one of our students, and and who had become an instructor because he just got a job. I think it's in North Carolina. So we've got a lot of good examples. The reality though is that it's hard to have precise statistics for us simply because we have a lot of students that are in a job today. It's very different from a full-time coding bootcamp where people quit their job. So when they graduate, they want to find a job the next day. For us, it's a little different. We have a lot of students that finish the program and then sort of gradually transition. So we're actually trying to start to track that, which is a little tough, but some take a little longer. They actually continue to work on their project. They continue to build skills. Maybe they'll do a few consulting assignments, projects even for friends or family, and then build the skills and I would say more experience to get a job. So we got a lot of different situations there. We also have some people that use this to simply advance their career in their current company. So they're already somewhat in IT, and but they want to advance in position, and they're lacking some software development skills to properly interact with software teams, for example. So we got a lot of different situations going on. But for those who want a clean transition and actually want to get a job as quickly as possible after the boot camp, absolutely. If you go through the program, you're serious about it, you put the hours, you complete the assignments, you take advantage of the resources, you definitely are in a great position to get a job at the end. What you should know as well is if you've got, I would say, some sort of basic soft skills and interview skills, and I can tell you a little bit about what we do to help you with that. The interviewing process is very skill oriented, in this industry. So if you've got the right skills, you should get a job. It's not a very relationship based interviewing. It's just more about what you can deliver. So with your portfolio in hand and the skills you can demonstrate through interviews that are often just testing your skills, you're in a good spot. We help you also a little bit on the interviewing skills, soft skills, with a 6-week module that you have access to and you can go through at your pace. That will give you the basics of building your resume, working your LinkedIn profile, how to network, and just some of the sort of key things you need to find a job or find an offer, and then work your way through an interview.
Great.
Okay.
Charlie is asking about the advantages of a bootcamp versus longer, more structured program. I'm going to interpret your question, Charlie, by relating structured program to, let's say, a computer science degree, for example, right? Which is longer. So if you think of a coding bootcamp versus a computer science degree, they're actually quite complementary. The computer science degree will teach you the fundamentals, and from an academic standpoint, it will cost you more, it will be longer. So cost, length, obviously, is a big difference. What's interesting as well is computer science degree are going to teach you typically C++ or Java, which is a language program that doesn't evolve quickly at all. And so they're going to use that. The applicability in the industry is limited, but that's going to really help them teach you all the academic knowledge. The thing is, once you've done that, you will not know how to build a website. And I've actually talked to many computer science degree students. They actually they are really well equipped for their career. Don't get me wrong. It's actually, you're super well equipped for their career. But you're going to still have a lot to learn to have practical knowledge. And that's really why coding bootcamp like ours are successful right now and really praised and sought after, is we actually go straight to the practical knowledge. We teach a little bit of computer science when we teach JavaScript, but it's really all about the skills, giving you the skills to get a job right after the bootcamp. And so the reason why it's complementary ultimately is you want a little bit of both. You want the academic knowledge that's going to stay with you for like 20 years, and you want the practical knowledge that's going to be helpful in 6 months, in 12 months. So I hope that answers the question.
All right, and then question on testimonials. So I'm actually posting on the web chat here 2 links to independent sites that basically are reviewing all coding boot camps out there. So one is Course Report, the other is SwitchUp. We have no affiliation with these sites. There's no commercial relationship, and actually they rate all boot camps, not just us. The reviews are independently posted by students.
We do not pay students to post reviews,
Good point.
Some other players do. So yeah.
So that's something you can just not just look at the ratings, but what they say about us, what they got them, what they liked, and what they didn't like. Because I mean, there's some of that as well. Even though our overall scores are really, really good. So let's see here. I don't want to miss any question. Resources for in-depth JavaScript to pursue afterwards. You want to talk to some of the additional resources as they go through the course?
So one thing that's super helpful is actually connected to what we shared earlier. You have lifetime access to the community and the curriculum. So that's a big resource. After that, we are also going to hook you into the world of cloud development, AWS, Google Firebase, Microsoft Azure, and you're really going to be exposed throughout the curriculum to various websites that really will help you learn and continue to learn after you finish the coding bootcamp. So Stack Overflow, I mean, you hear the word like, I hate the coding bootcamp because they're asking me to go to Google to find stuff. There's always a little bit of that, and I'm not going to say that Google is going to be your main source of knowledge, but yeah, we're going to really help you understand the lay of the land, I would say, in terms of which learning resources are the ones that you should be looking after, including, as I said, from the main tech community companies like AWS or Amazon, Google, and Microsoft.
Okay, so hey, we're gonna speed up a little bit here because we're getting up on the hour. So I want to just quickly go through a few last questions here. So do we help students build their resume? Yes and no. We'll help you with the basics with that online course, but you don't have a one-to-one mentoring on that. So if you feel that's something important for you, then something you can complement. There are resources out there and to help you do that. Decisions to teach other technologies. We talked a little bit about that. For now, no, we want to stay focused on this curriculum that we believe is the right way or the easiest way for people to transition into the industry. And then, again, the question asked earlier about, is the intro bootcamp enough to get sort of a basic job? The answer is no. We definitely would not commit on that. That won't be enough for you to get a job based on the skills you acquire, but it's a way to start.
And to be ready for the front end or the full stack.
Exactly. So training for interviews, same answer. You'll have some resources, but we don't have dedicated coaches for interviewing. Something you might need or might not need, I guess, based on your experience. And then if you're online, how do you get your code reviewed? How do you get help? That's really something we now, control very well. So we have screen sharing, multiple screen sharing that helps your instructor look at what you're doing, interact with you, correct what you're doing. There's the whole submission of assignment and grading is done through our learning platform. So we have everything in place to ensure that the online and remote workshop experience is as fluid as the in-person experience.
I'll just comment on Fernando's point that the students become teacher and then find full-time jobs. We actually, out of 700 students, we've seen 3 of them join back as instructors with us. So that's not the straight path, I will say. Most students find jobs in the industry without becoming teachers with us.
And by the way, they have not started teaching just out of the boot camp. Usually they've gained a little bit of experience. They've started to really, develop their skills and then came back to start teaching our intro classes, actually, not our advanced classes. But still, we feel that's a great, asset as well, because they're in a great position to help you go through that experience. So, hey, with that, I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you for taking the time today to spend this hour, understanding more what we do. Thank you for your questions. Great questions. All of this content will be available through the link, but I also encourage you to go check out our Q&A where other questions are there. So, if you want to learn more, there's more resource out there about us. And again, if any other question comes up, just shoot us an email at info@nucamp.co. We'll be glad to answer. And then finally, do not miss the early bird. You want to take advantage of that pricing. So, we hope to see many of you in our bootcamp, our upcoming bootcamp in November.
Yeah, Sultan, you have a question about discounts. The discount is the early bird. Maybe we'll have one when the early bird ends, but I wouldn't bet on it. All right. Hey, thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.